Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mutant Academy. This is the show where we talk about mutants, those dirty. No, I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge. With me, as always, is Sal. Sal, how you doing?
I am fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm
Love
doing.
that Deadpool shirt.
Thank you. This is old school, classic. I'm not. What we'll learn through this episode is I'm not the biggest Deadpool guy, but I saw this shirt and I'm like, that's my Deadpool baby. That's the one.
Yeah.
But listen, gang, we've been talking about X-Men the animated series, but guess what hit Disney Plus this month? Oh, Deadpool and Wolverine. And so this was a good opportunity for us to take a little break from your regularly scheduled programming to talk about one of the biggest movies of the year. I didn't look what it made up, but $1 billion-ish.
Oh yeah,
billions
right?
of
Did it?
dollars.
I think it did.
It cracked. Oh, okay. Hold on. Time for a quick Wikipedia break, everybody. This works so good.
I love my go-to is always Box Office Mojo, and worldwide it made $1.3 billion.
$1.3 billion. Good.
Domestically,
Lord.
636. Internationally, 701.
I would be lying if I didn't say that. Didn't make me a little bit sad. Anyway,
I know.
Broke my heart.
We're gonna have. It's funny because officially, like I think on paper, you weren't a fan. I was a fan. But we're both going to sound like we weren't fans.
Yeah.
Because this is the kind of show where we can talk about this movie objectively and subjectively. We can say things that we feel, and things that we think, and ideas that we had without necessarily blowing this movie.
Yeah.
Look, the movie speaks for itself. I had a great time in the theater. I had a fun time. That being said, I have some thoughts.
Listen, that's what the show is. We have thoughts. Well said, Sal. I really appreciate that. Perfectly said. Here's the thing. This is a movie directed by Sean Levy, written by Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, and Paul Wernick. The synopsis says, Deadpool is offered a place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe by the Time Variance Authority, but instead recruits a variant of Wolverine to save his universe from extinction. Right there, dude. Right in that synopsis, man. That's where you're like, anyway. All right. On Rotten Tomatoes, this has a 79% with an audience score of 94%. That shouldn't surprise anybody.
94? Yeah. That's really high.
It's really high. I would say the 79 is actually pretty high, too. Okay, we'll get it out. I was gonna, because I don't necessarily want to come out of the gate negative.
Swing it.
I mean, I do actually. That is what I want to do, but I feel like for the algorithm, maybe that's not the best thing to do.
I mean, we want to show at least a little bit of deference to the audience and say, like, look, there is a reason why I say I like this movie. There are things I do dig about it.
Yeah, and there's things I like about it too. There's things here's the thing. I think. Sal, help me out here. You're the pro on this. Should I save this? Should I save this for later? Should I save the hot takes for later? Is that
let's just say there are hot takes.
There are hot takes. All right. Okay.
Will they be triggered by moments in the movie that we're going to cover? Because I think that might be it.
Yeah.
Like right off the jump, let's just say something nice about Deadpool.
Listen, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all.
Start a podcast.
Start a podcast. If you don't have something nice to say, start a podcast. Listen, Hugh Jackman is and always will be really great. He's just really to me it is kind of like if we had never gotten another Batman other than Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is great. Do I think
would be great?
I think there are other takes on other directions we could take Bruce Wayne? Absolutely. So while Hugh Jackman, I do think there is something closer to maybe the X-Men animated series Wolverine that I would like to see. Hugh Jackman as an actor is so good. And to the point where you could give him basically anything and he will just make it work. And and especially this character who's been playing for 20 years now, he knows him inside and out. You're like, he's a variant dealing with this stuff. He's like, got it. Hugh Jackman is so good.
Yep.
And
and I like the versions that he plays. Like every version of Wolverine that he's played. And it's amazing how in this movie, he gets to try other things. Like, I like this version that he played, the primary Wolverine he plays in this, because he plays like 4 different versions. The primary version that he plays here, I like more than most of the movie versions.
Most
of the movie versions, the first movie was fun because he's the only Wolverine I've seen on screen, and he friggin' nails it out of the gate, even though there's a lot of that isn't there. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's a lot. They're doing a lot of heavy lifting. The whole movie's trying to just make people like comic book movies.
Yeah.
But by now, like he is finally like he's that unhappy. He's that grizzled. He's that animalistic.
Yeah.
Like they're not afraid of the things that make Wolverine iconic or beloved by audiences.
Yeah.
Like the picture you just showed.
Yeah.
Where he's like hunched. They were so afraid to make him look like a Jim Lee or an Andy Kubert drawing. They were so afraid of like making him look like Wolverine. You know, that they do it in snippets. You know, maybe in a bad X-Men prequel movie, they put him in the Weapon X helmet for 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, but that's it. They were so afraid of that. So like, make him sexy, make him big, make him awesome. And it's like, no, he's not. Wolverine is not sexy.
Yeah.
And if he is, it's like to a very particular type of person.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. That's when I say there could be another take is that this is very much Wolverine as leading man, which makes sense.
Yeah.
He's one of the, when there's a line in this movie where they call him the X-Men. Correct.
He is.
Yeah, correct.
Movie
That's
X-Men?
right.
Yeah, big time.
And so like, I totally get Wolverine as leading man. But again, like I said, you know, kind of like rougher around the edges, Wolverine, like
Yes.
not like a, you know, I think there's other directions we could go. Who knows if Marvel will ever do any of those things, or maybe this joke in this movie is a prophecy, and Hugh Jackman will be doing it till he's 90. We have yet to find out. But now that Sal forced me to say something nice, I'll say other nice things. So you guys just stay tuned. But right off the bat, we're gonna go through the movie. Let's go through the movie. Right off the bat, we kind of get into one of my main issues with this movie, because the opening lines of dialogue from Deadpool voiceover are how he's talking about how Disney bought Fox, and we'll find out if this movie has a theme. It is this. Movie is about corporate acquisition.
Yeah. What? Like Ryan Reynolds cares? Like it's that was a weird thing for me where like I was like, is that what this movie's about? Like, is this movie about how kind of sad and weird it is that Disney bought Fox?
This movie is about Disney buying Fox. They want to make another Deadpool movie, but not do any of the characters. That is the plot of this movie.
Yeah. Which by the way, is a great idea. Like for me, it's a great idea in an ocean of there's a big guy over there.
Yeah.
And we have to get him before he gets us.
Yeah.
Quip. Like I'm kind of impressed that this movie has like what is known in the biz, ladies and gentlemen, as subtext. Although this movie takes all that subtext and puts it right on top.
Yeah. It's not
text.
subtext. It's just text. It's just, by the way, this is a film about corporate. It's we're gonna get into the meta-ness of this movie, and I think to the point where I think
we've like Spaceballs. Like I was surprised we didn't get a scene where they're fighting and he kills a stagehand by accident. Like that's how meta this
that's
movie
a funny
gets.
bit in Spaceballs. I like Spaceballs. Interesting.
I love Spaceballs.
Why do I love Spaceballs, but I don't like this movie? Maybe because Spaceballs is funnier.
Maybe because Spaceballs is deliberately a parody, and you know it. This movie is both.
Yeah, it's both. He's trying to be both. So the interesting, I want to put a pin in the fact that he says Marvel, you know, Disney bought Fox, but Marvel wants him. We'll put a pin in this later because that's not really what happens. And it goes to one of my main issues with this movie. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we? Yeah. Anyway, so Deadpool goes to, we're opening in media res, you know, the joke we make in like Rick and Morty and stuff like that about how it's dumb to start a movie here and then be like, oh, how did I get here? Deadpool loves it. He digs up the corpse of Logan from the movie Logan. He is assuming healing factor. Wolverine's not dead, but Wolverine is in fact dead. Now, it should be noted that Logan, which I guess we're saying is now the mainline X-Men timeline, of which Deadpool also exists in, takes place in 2029. And also was also, if you recall, everybody, a dystopia.
Hellscape, thanks to Korn or something.
Put a pin in that. So then the TVA shows up. And this is an excuse for Wade to take them down. How does Wade take them down? He takes Wolverine's unbreakable skeleton and then proceeds to break pieces off of it to fight them.
There's nothing holding it together anymore. You know, like the skeleton needs tissue and other things to hold together. Otherwise, it would. I mean, realistically, it should have just been a pile of bones.
Yeah.
but then we wouldn't have all the puppetry and the like macabre humor
Yeah.
associated with it. I will say the fight sequence in this opening is probably the best fight sequence in the movie.
And that's disappointing.
Isn't it?
Because it's not great. It's not, it's fine.
I liked it a lot. I had a great time with the creativeness and fun of, having it be gross, but also having it be bloody and having it be spectacular and playing with like slow motion and stuff like that. Like it was pretty fun. I was also convinced that the Dancing Deadpool was a CG model, as I understand it. It was actually just a younger, more coordinated actor in a Deadpool costume.
Yeah, exactly. It was an actual dancer. My wife was
so fluidly. I thought you were fake.
Yeah, my wife was watching it with me, and she's like, "Is that really Ryan Reynolds?" I'm like, "That's not Ryan
Hell
Reynolds."
no.
And then she's
Ryan
like, "Well, how do you know?" Yeah, how do you know when it's Ryan Reynolds or not? And then he does this like flip kick. I'm like, "That's not Ryan Reynolds." That's if any of that shit, that's not Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. You got to watch the head. If he does, like, there's a shot, I believe it's in Deadpool 2, when they are picking all their characters and he picks Pete.
Yeah.
When Deadpool goes, "You're in," like that move.
He's
in the suit. Like you look for those Ryan Reynolds.
There was a low key. I don't know if you guys caught it. That was a low key, pretty good Ryan Reynolds impersonation. Just slipped in there. Just Sal slipped it right in there. Here's the other thing to point out during this credit sequence: they are not, unlike the previous two Deadpool movies, joke credits. Which is
what the hell?
Well, here's the thing: for all their jokes about like, "Oh, can't believe Disney's letting us get away with this," there are things Disney will not let them get away with. And I think, okay, so that's another thing, man. I guess I should just get some stuff out of the way.
Yeah,
this stuff. It's this element. I think part of my issue with this movie is it is stacked with a lot of my pet peeves, and one of my pet peeves are like, "Oh, can you believe product placement's so fucking stupid? Look at this stupid Honda Accord. Look at how great this Honda Accord is. Look at how well this stupid ass Honda Accord drives." It's like, don't fucking snark it up and pretend like you're not doing product placement. You're not above it. Fuck off. Like, don't do the thing. Don't joke about like, "Can you believe Marvel won't let us talk about cocaine? Here's all the cocaine Marvel won't let us talk about." You're talking about it. Shut the fuck up.
Yes. Well, that is, and you know what that is? That is them putting that on Front Street so you don't pay attention to the things that Marvel really wouldn't let them do.
Like doing joke credits where there might be, God forbid, a joke about Kevin Feige.
Yeah. Or Sean Levy for that matter. Yeah. Sean Levy is the only director who actually gets his name put up on the screen.
Yeah.
In the opening credits.
Yep.
What the hell? But also, there's the whole product placement of it all. One of the best sequences in Wayne's World is the product placement sequence.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know that I remember that one. I don't remember.
It's so great. It's when they are in the television studio and they talk about how they want to do sponsorships, and Wayne and Garth talk about how they have integrity and they don't want to do that. And every time they have a sentence in that monologue, they are doing a plot. They're literally wearing clothing or eating a thing.
And again,
like each segment is a commercial.
That's funny. It's
really funny
when they do that.
Yeah, and Wayne's World also is not too dissimilar from Deadpool 3, where it is a story that it takes itself seriously, but also knows it's a joke, and so it will break the fourth wall and do all kinds of like meta jokes as well. When Wayne opens the door to a James Bond sequence.
Maybe if we just said that, you know what, this is a. Maybe if it was funnier, sorry, Deadpool fans. Maybe if it was funnier, and it was just like, listen, continuity doesn't matter. It's just we're just doing jokes, but continuity really does matter in this movie, and so that like middle ground, like you need to, I guess for DJ over here, you need to pick a lane.
Oh, I agree. No. I mean, you need to at least establish firmly what the rules are. Yeah. I mean, that's the case with any story, with any universe. The rules are the most important part when you're building out something that you want your audience to connect with.
If you need actual stakes, if it is just we're just doing jokes, you know what I mean? Like it's just, and then you just need to make the jokes work. That's it.
We were talking about like Mel Brooks, where it's like Spaceballs works. You know what doesn't work? Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yeah.
And Dracula Dead and Loving It is another Mel Brooks movie that is mostly just jokes.
Yeah.
The tipping point for me is Robin Hood Men in Tights, where it's like but they are basically just doing the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's just, Prince of Thieves, but with jokes.
With jokes.
But Dracula Dead and Loving It is just joke, with like the loosest framework being that stupid Francis Ford Coppola movie. Their words, seemingly not mine.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like with Deadpool 3, it's like it's just you have a lot of things going on. You have all the people who are around Ryan Reynolds who think they're clever and funny.
Yeah.
Like I am not convinced that Sean Levy is a good director. But
Well, the Night of the Museum movies didn't convince you.
Well, everybody throws at me Stranger Things.
Oh.
Like, I appreciate that he is a director and has but like I saw Free Guy.
Yeah, yep. It's fine.
And it's ugly.
It's aggressively fine.
Yeah, it is the most middling thing I've ever seen. And it's like I appreciate it. I had fun sometimes.
Yeah.
But like it's also just like there's no identity to it. There's no there's nothing that makes it a movie for me. And Deadpool 3, I was really worried it was going to have that similar problem, and it does.
Yeah.
But and that's why I'm like worried, whenever I see these people going like, "Oh man, that worked. So get that guy." And I'm like, "Don't just do that.
Yeah.
Like, get the right person for the right project."
It blows my mind. To that point, it kind of blows my mind because when I think about Deadpool's breaking of the third wall in these movies has never really worked for me. Fourth wall.
Yeah, you've never really liked the fourth wall breaking in these movies.
In these movies, because it's one thing to have a character in a comic talk about that. There's this extra layer of movies because there is an actor. So is he aware that he's Ryan Reynolds, that sort of thing? And it kind of blows my mind that when you talk about getting the right people for the right job, it blows my mind that they never went to any of the writers for Rick and Morty. Or specifically Dan Harmon, because I think Dan Harmon's projects do this the best. Because when Abed breaks the fourth wall, it's because Abed thinks that he's in a show, and it just so happens in this case he is right. None of the other characters, you know what I mean? Like the reality of the world is not broken. It just so happens that Abed is broken enough that that's how he processes reality, and it just so happens that that is the medium we're seeing in him. He is not breaking the rules there. Rick and Morty, they never explicitly go into it. Like Community, they break down what's going on with Abed. And in Rick and Morty, it's basically that Rick has done so many multiverse shenanigans and has done so many things that he just knows I'm in a show. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've broken reality. I've gone to so many different realities that this reality is real and true to me as much as that's kind of the point of the show, that with the multiverse, nothing kind of matters. That's the existential crisis of Rick and Morty. But beyond that, he is aware that he is in a show. And so it's like, that is the best case. How do you not, if you're not, I guess because you're already making all the money. But I guess creatively, if I were making out of Deadpool, I don't know how I don't look at Rick and Morty, because it's doing everything we're trying to do. It's a comedy that breaks the fourth wall, that is irreverent, but also has this really deep core backbone, this heart that we can tap into anytime to make our stories deeper. It's doing all of that, at least for the first 3 seasons, at an A+ level. And it's like, so I don't know how you don't look at that and be like, how do we do that better? How do we do that?
I can tell you exactly why that doesn't work. Why you can't have Deadpool be like Rick and Morty, and why it just never will be, as far as Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy are concerned. Rick and Morty is not made by People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. Or a failed actor who desperately wants to be like a career director. I don't know I don't know what the industry term is for a director who's just
a journeyman.
A journeyman, a journeyman director.
Yeah.
Like that's what Sean Levy wants to be. He wants to make other people's movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Truthfully, to your point, he is ideal for this. Like, this is the ideal. You're not getting the Safdie brothers. We've talked about this, to direct a Spider-Man movie. That's not fucking happening. You should. You 100% should, but that's not happening.
That's the problem with Rick and Morty. Dan Harmon is not going to win Sexiest Man of the Year.
Yeah.
But Dan Harmon would also not want to be Sexiest Man of the Year. Dan Harmon is a deeply broken man who happens to have a career in the entertainment industry.
It appears to have gotten better. Things have gotten better for him. But yes,
he's better at filtering himself.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, everything goes through the art. And for him, he also has he will burn it all down, kind of like Larry David.
Yeah.
Where it's what you see when you see me is what you get.
Yeah.
I am not pretending.
Yeah.
I am a weird, broken man.
Yeah.
Who also happens to have a career in the entertainment industry. And so I'm going to weave that in. Abed makes sense in the Community for his fourth wall breaking because it's deeply sad.
Yeah, exactly. And same with Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty. Rick is a truly broken individual, and that's what makes that work. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, Dan Harmon would make the perfect Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
Because Deadpool is as miserable and broken as everyone in Community and Rick.
To that point,
Deadpool
if I recall, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong. If I recall, in the original Joe Kelly Deadpool run, Blind Al is kind of his hostage for Deadpool. We start off with the premise of Deadpool is a legit bad person, not like he's a mercenary defending like teen girls from stalkers or something. Like whatever we started the first movie on, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, no, you could have opened like the original. I mean, like you could have made the Deadpool first movie.
Yeah.
Without Deadpool in it, and people would still have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like a movie about a guy who is just like, I kill people for money and I fell in love with a prostitute and now we're together. Like that's a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically just Pretty Woman, but with
murder. Yeah.
But Gear kills with the stroke of a pen.
Yeah.
But like, but Deadpool will never work the way you want it to, or the way that he works so well in comics, and maybe the way he hasn't worked in comics for over a decade now, because he will never be truly Deadpool because he's not made by someone who is so deeply unhappy and flawed and broken, or at least infuses that into the character. Like Deadpool wants you to like him.
Yeah,
that's a big problem for connecting with this character or with hating this character, because he also is deeply likable and fun.
Yeah, and it's to your point, I think the best, and it's Joe Kelly, goes back to Joe Kelly, because there was the Deadpool Spider-Man comic and then the recent Deadpool Wolverine comic, and the premise of those issues, and the Deadpool Wolverine comic gets this in a way that this movie doesn't, is to your point, is that Deadpool looks at people like Wolverine and Spider-Man and is kind of like, which he does in this movie, but it's more deeply felt because the Deadpool from the comics, or at least as Joe Kelly writes him, is a more upsetting individual. Is kind of like, why not me? Am I even capable of that? Whereas this Deadpool, like you said, Sexiest Man Alive, Ryan Reynolds, led 2 movies, is basically just a good guy, especially in action movie parlance. Oh, you murdered criminals? Boo-hoo. You know what I mean?
Only bad guys, because the movie is afraid of you not liking him.
Yeah.
And by the way, like, fine, because I don't know if I want to see like a guy who's murdered children on the Avengers.
Yeah.
Even though there are probably a couple of those. Black Widow.
Yeah.
But
probably Tony Stark indirectly.
They've established that they put that in Avengers.
Yeah.
He burned a hospital. She burned a hospital down. But yeah. So Deadpool disrespects Wolverine's corpse, because that's the thing. Like the people were worried about. Like clearly they were like, we got to get in front of this. People were like, if you're going to, if you introduce Wolverine when the swan song was Logan, you are essentially digging up Logan's corpse and smattering it around. And it's like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So let's do it literally. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Ha. Also, none of the timelines were like I have 3 massive problems with this movie, and one of them is the rules.
Yeah. Wait. Put a pin in the rules, because we got an upcoming scene that really gets into this, and you and I can like unpack it.
Yeah.
Because no joke credits. To that point, I'm just going to throw this out there. You might as well get the hate right off the bat. I don't think this movie goes after Marvel as a brand. It is more weak sauce than the stuff She-Hulk did. That She-Hulk finale where she goes and confronts robot Kevin Feige goes harder into the Marvel, kind of like gently poking fun of the Marvel brand than anything in this movie, in my opinion.
Well, he does get to say the multiverse saga doesn't work.
I did. You know what? I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that. I obviously caught the joke where he's like, "Welcome to the MCU." We're at a little bit of a low point. Fun little dig. The part that washed over me is when he's like, when he's basically like you're saying, this multiverse stuff sucks. Let's not do it anymore. And I'm like, correct.
When Nicepool's like, I think it's been steadily up since Endgame.
Yeah.
That is clearly an indictment of everything they've been doing since Endgame. And I'm like, yeah. It's been really bad. It's been middling to worse.
Yeah.
No one has been as excited about any character they've introduced.
Yeah. Yep. So now we get to the, so he murders all these TVA people. And then now we get to how did I get into this situation? And so then we have like a montage from Deadpool 2, which shows him using Cable's time machine.
Yes.
Which allows him to go back in time and undo stuff in his timeline. There was a post-credit tease in Deadpool 2.
Yep.
And then the next scene is he's in Earth 616 being interviewed by Happy Hogan for the Avengers. Now, I don't hate this scene. Jon Favreau is actually really good in it, I think. I think it's like, oh, yeah, Jon Favreau. Oh, yeah, you're really good at this shit.
Oh, yeah, he's also an actor.
Yeah, and him and Brian Reynolds bouncing off each other. And Jon Favreau does a good job of the jokes, but a little bit of the heart. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. My issue, and this is where we can start unpacking the rules, is you have a time machine, Deadpool, not a multiverse machine. So unless we're to understand your altering of the timeline, major timeline 616, how did you get over here?
And why are we excited about him getting a panel from the TVA?
Yeah.
You know, like, if he can already multiverse jump.
Yes. I didn't even think about that. Yes. Why?
Like, it doesn't work. Like, it just, first of all, him wanting to be an Avenger doesn't work.
Yeah.
His motivation is very bad. Is very bad.
His motivation is the same motivation. This is one of my issues with this movie. Is his motivation is the same motivation in the previous two movies. Vanessa. Yeah. Vanessa's either captured or dead or not. Whatever. We fridged Vanessa somehow, and he's like, but
not. It's really weird. The Vanessa situation is weird, and it only adds to the fire that has been a massive criticism of the MCU that I was blissfully unaware of until like within a few years ago, which is the sexlessness of the MCU.
Yes.
And how like they're like desperately afraid of seeing characters like actually be together or like or express any sexuality outside of like being performatively one way or another.
Yeah.
Like, I happen to be gay. You won't see any of that, but I am gay.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, so like, also, what does that inform about your character? Or hi, I'm straight.
Yeah.
I love this woman. Oh yeah, show me. Never.
That's the one is to your point is the most romantic charge in the entire MCU that we kind of built a whole thing around. It was Cap and Peggy getting one chaste kiss.
Yes.
That's how sexless it is. That one thing powered an entire subplot with Captain America.
Yeah. I mean, it's such that he literally threw away being Captain America to like get more.
Yeah.
I mean, well, Iron Man was much more sexual. Like he slept with the reporter. He's intimately with Pepper.
Yeah.
The kid had to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
But that notwithstanding, the Vanessa. I mean, like there's a sex scene in Deadpool 1 between Deadpool and Vanessa. In this one, they broke up, and they broke up because he has insecurities about not being in the MCU. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? Like, and why? And how did he know it existed if he was only traveling within his own universe? Because I guess he can break the fourth wall. But if he can break the fourth wall, can he read the script and know what happens at the end of the movie and then just go do that? Like, do you see the problem with the rules and how it just all falls apart? Like, and I don't buy it. Like, he's already gone through 2 catharses in these movies. And the third one is what? And the weird one is the implication that he needs to be comfortable with himself. You're no good to another if you can't be happy with yourself. Like, what? And if that's the case, telegraph that in some way. Don't just have Vanessa and Deadpool be broken up.
Yeah.
And have him be like, I want to show her that I matter. And it's like, I understand there's some kind of like interwoven in the DNA of the movie. It's like, because we're not making Fox movies anymore. And because there's an MCU doing it better than us, I don't matter.
Yeah.
Right. But like, is that enough for a movie?
Yeah,
is that enough for a character?
Especially since there's no other than now in the scene where we know he's aware of it, you'd have a scene where he finds out about it. Like you'd have a scene where he's using Cable's little time box and he ends up in the MCU and he's like, well, this is way better than my shitty, like, the X-Men won't have me. Maybe I can join these guys. And then they reject him too. That you have, you set this up in some way. To establish, and I think the way I would work around the Deadpool situation, and again because I would be pulling from Harmon, is you say that Deadpool believes that he is in a movie, but he is not aware that Hugh Jackman plays because now is he talking to Hugh Jackman or is he talking to Wolverine? That stuff gets too messy for me. And I think the next level you have to work on this, but he's aware of the comics because I don't need him having cosmic awareness of how this movie's going to play out because that destroys our stakes. If he knows that he's in a movie, then he knows he's going to end up with Vanessa at the end of the movie. So therefore we don't have stakes unless you really check out hard. Unless you really expect your audience to check out hard. And because I, as a viewer, don't check out that hard watching a movie, or at least a movie like this, I'm not going to do that because then you get me bitching about it like I am right now.
Precisely.
So, to your point, actually, I like this scene other than the fact that it doesn't make any fucking sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Also, it's in the past of the MCU.
Yeah,
like,
man.
It's not just that it doesn't make any sense. It's also frustrating because then you find out like all the meta stuff. Like there was going to be a sequence of Deadpool like retconning himself into every like movie at the MCU, which would have actually been better because it might have explained his motivations as opposed to him just being rejected by Happy Hogan of all characters. Like, it was a weird choice that saved them money, but also what? And I don't know. I'm just like,
or you have them run into. This is another thing. One of my other issues beyond the rules not working. And I think generally the writing of this movie kind of being sloppy. But missed opportunities because we even have the Nice Pool character. Let's expound upon that. Maybe Nice Pool comes from a universe where he is an Avenger. We meet him earlier. So like he runs into a version of him that is everything he wants to be. And that makes him insecure because that makes sense. That's a motivation that makes sense. If I ran into a version of me that is like a huge director. Exactly. I'd be like, wait, did I fuck up? Like, am I?
And how often? And where do I fuck up?
Yeah.
Like, am I the aberration? Like, is he shown my life to make him work harder?
One of the best things, and again, it makes you wonder: do these people watch other movies? Do people making these movies watch something like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where a key plot point of that movie is Michelle Yeoh's character is so unremarkable. That she's able to access multiple, like she's a nexus point for a bunch of other much more interesting, cooler versions of herself, and that makes the character so much more compelling. You're finding out the multiverse exists, and we try to play this game with the worst Wolverine, and I'll get into my issues with him being the worst Wolverine because spoiler, it's just another Wolverine. It's literally the same motivation as Logan. It's like one level removed from the motivation. It's just Logan again.
It is just Logan again, but he's a little younger, and like there's no reason for him to like like we saw this already.
But there is so you guys know that the idea that you're the worst one is interesting. Do something with that.
And they're very So
anyway,
I mean, there's a sequence where he like when they show him the MCU, it's like, well, he's been there.
Yeah, exactly. To the degree that it made me wonder, like, was this scene meant to be later in the movie, like post TVA, and then we just decided to open with it, but now it doesn't make sense.
And that's the problem with like these movies is that like A, we're not 100% sure how the sausage gets made. B, we're 75% sure how the sausage gets made. So like we are left to guess, but all we know are the worst parts. Like they shoot multiple endings, or they reshoot up until the day of release. Like there's so much like.
Well, and this one had the writer's strike in the middle of it, and they were still filming, and so it's like, well. Oh, maybe.
Like, well, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like I mean, I know they had to halt production inevitably, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just it's going to hurt the movie, and they were like, no, nothing can. And I think
that's it made over $1 billion, so they're right. They are correct. I'm wrong. I'm incorrect. They're right. I'm wrong.
Exactly.
So Wade goes back to his Earth, which we find out is 10,005, where he's a car salesman in. I remind you, the post-apocalyptic Logan universe that has self-driving cars. And by the way, this is multiple years, I think like however long it's been since Logan, 8-10 years, I don't remember, since Logan. And yet somehow it's now in the past. It's not in 2035 or whatever it would be.
Like wait, so is Logan dead? Did this already happen? Or is there a younger Wolverine running around in Deadpool's reality right now who will become Logan that he could have just used instead?
Mm-hmm. They don't
You know
know
what I'm
and they
saying?
don't care. Yeah, I do know what you're saying.
Like, could he
because
unmake
Logan
Logan?
dies in the future, that destroys his reality. But instead of him grabbing his Logan in the past, and by the way, we all know that if we any Mutant Academy fans, watched our rankings, and I was surprised as anyone to find out Logan was my favorite. But I said at the time, I love it. I don't want it to be the main X-Men timeline because it is bleak as fuck.
Too bleak.
It's so bleak.
Exactly.
I want the main X-Men timeline to be post Days of Future Past, where like, guess what? Everything worked out.
Yeah, which by the way, like no one refers to.
No,
and
not
doesn't make any
referenced
sense
once.
anymore. Like, cool.
So anyway, we find out Rob Delaney shows back as Peter. He's working with Wade as a car salesman. They throw a surprise birthday for Wade. Now, this party is very load bearing. Because there's a picture taken of this party, and this party includes Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead and her girlfriend Yukio, which we don't even mention that they're girlfriends in the Disney movie. They're just standing next to each other.
Yeah, they're just standing next to each other.
Whatever, man. And then Shatterstar, Dopinder. That one extra, I can't remember his name, but that was a funny joke. The one extra that they don't give lines that was in Deadpool 2. I think he's been in all the Deadpools. The biker beard guy. That's a funny bit. I'll give him that. And I also like the Shatterstar's there, even though he very much died in Deadpool 2.
Well, he unmade it. Remember,
I know, and that's what makes it funny.
I think he lets Shatterstar die. No, he lets everybody die except for Peter.
Peter.
So, yeah.
But I think it's like 8 or 9 people. He's like, these 9 people are my world, and not included in this picture are. If you recall from Deadpool 2, that movie ends with him with Cable and Domino and Russell saying, "This is my found family." This was the arc of this movie, is me finding these people and finding my place. Not one of them makes the cut in this thing. Sal, do you know why that is?
Right. I mean, like, I have to assume, I mean, like, if you want to, in story, well, I went back in time and I saved my girlfriend, so I don't need you people anymore.
Yeah.
Or they weren't available, or like, I mean, like the guy who plays Russell, like, his time is over. He was only
he's coming. He's in that new Y2K comedy. He's in that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not in everything. Like, he's not in 6 movies a year like he was when he was a name.
Which implies you could have gotten him. You could have got. He makes a
joke
joke about
easily gotten him.
You make a joke. He makes a joke about Cable not testing well. But
I was like, how could that possibly be? No. Is that true?
Here's my theory. Here's my theory why Cable doesn't show up is because I'm sure he had a contract to play Cable, but also with the MCU, he has a contract as Thanos. And I could imagine a scenario where Kevin Feige is like, we can't bring Josh Brolin back because we're not gonna be able to pay him his Cable rate. We're gonna have to pay him his Thanos rate, and we're not spending that kind of money. Yeah. It's that we're not gonna. If he shows up in one more movie, it's like triple what we were paying him. So too bad he's not in this one.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, like, that sounds shrewd enough to be true.
The bummer there is that feels like low-hanging joke fruit of he is Cable and he is Thanos. That feels like prime real estate for Deadpool comedy.
Yeah. I think it's just they couldn't get him. Like, I think they just couldn't use him for that. Or he said no. I mean, I saw a Josh Brolin interview recently where he was like, I said no to a lot of stuff recently that was like big.
Okay, because I thought I saw another one where he's like, I was disappointed that I wasn't even asked or whatever. Like, who knows? It sounds like we're both.
I didn't see him say no to this. I just said, like, in
general,
he said no to things before where it's like, really? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, this is where we get the exchange from Wade and Big Al, where they're so excited to talk about cocaine, even though apparently they're not allowed to talk about cocaine.
Yeah. That scene killed, by the way, in my theater.
Oh, cool. The TVA, it's such a great scene. It's in the trailer. It's in the trailer of the movie.
I was convinced, by the way, that was only it was shot for the movie, but that it was only going to be in the trailer.
No, it's in the movie. So then the TVA shows up. Wade makes a bunch of like anal jokes. And this is where he's taken in, and we meet one of the highlights of the movie for me, Matthew McFadden from Succession, who, if you've heard me on OSA talk about Succession, this guy is one of my favorite parts of that show. And I think he's really good in this as well. One of our 2 British villains.
Yes. He's great. Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah, and it kind of aligns with Loki a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, it doesn't. Props to them. It doesn't step on any of Loki's toes as near as I can remember from Loki.
Well, just like but then didn't they stop pruning everybody? Aren't the timelines all going?
Oh yeah, and that's what he has to
okay?
explain. Like, this is a rogue guy. He's like, actually, I want to prune everything.
And I'm like, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Okay. All right. That tracks.
Would have been funny if they put a joke in here where like Deadpool definitively kills Kang, and that's the reason Kang's not going to show up in any of the other things.
I am disappointed they didn't do that, but also like you can't like Jonathan Majors had like an ironclad contract that prevented anyone else from playing Kang probably. And so as a result, like, no, you can't have him even be shot from the back and have it be somebody else. Like, or he could have walked through a door and just been like, and I killed Kang.
Yeah. By the way, Kang problem done and done.
Yeah, dude, I just saved you 5 years of nonsense stories. We can get right to Dr. Doom. Like, that would be really, really fun.
You just fixed one of my issues with this movie because again, I argue there is no subtext in this movie, only text. This is a movie about brand management, and that is that's frustrating to me.
It didn't really manage them very well.
Yeah,
like
So basically, Paradox comes in and for all intents and purposes says, Disney bought Fox and we don't want the other X-Men characters, but we want you. Because that's the only way this conversation makes sense. Otherwise, it's like, wait, what the people upstairs want Wade in the main sacred timeline for what reason? Like they don't even say for an upcoming Secret War or whatever. They just like, your movies make money, so come over here. That's essentially the conversation that happens.
Yeah.
It would be much better if he's like, Wade, we've got this Kang problem that's a real problem, and you are good at killing people. And he walks through goes through a portal, comes back. Kang, I killed all the Kangs, and you're like, good.
That could also have been part of the whole when he's introduced to the MCU, he is like he feels inadequate. He wants to be a part of it now.
Yeah.
He's trying to like earn his stripes and get in.
And so he decides to kill all the Kangs for them. And so then the TVA is like, time out. Come over here. Thanks for killing all the Kangs. We'll let you be in the main timeline, but the rest of your universe, the old timeline's got to go away.
Yeah.
That's a narrative, kids. That's a narrative.
Right. I mean, I mean, or he starts killing the Kangs. He gets a feel for like what they're doing, for what the TVA is doing, how the MCU is working. And he's like, you could go really dark with it and have it be like, no, Deadpool's going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, we got to stop him now. And he's like, no, they're going to prune my timeline. Like just, I'm going to get revenge. I'm going to kill your timeline.
Yeah. I'm going to kill all the timelines.
I like the better one. It's more fun to make him not a villain. So go ahead.
So Paradox shows him the MCU, which again, he is aware of, and he's excited to join. Anyway. So I was reading this book. Sorry, everybody, tangent. I was reading this book called Survival of the Richest, which was about how basically the wealthiest 0.1% in the world, how they're trying to escape the apocalypse that they're rapidly creating. And there's a part of it where the author of the book, which I cannot remember at the moment, Survival of the Richest, look it up. It's a really good book. He talks about things going meta and basically how the tech bros specifically, but big business interests generally break things down. This is such a broad cliff notes of it. Read the book, but it applies to this in that break stuff down to you atomize stuff to create more value out of it, which is how we, broad strokes, how we got our financial housing crisis, where you're not just you own a plot of land, that part of land is now part of a bunch of pieces of land, which is an asset, and now we break those assets down into different things. It's gone meta. You've divorced it from its core value, and when I couldn't help but listen to this and think about this movie and other movies like it, where we get so meta that we're not even really pretending to do we are pretending to do a real narrative, but we're so divorced from core storytelling. Another example, and if you follow Jason Pargin, he's big on TikTok and stuff like that. He was part of the Cracked team. He wrote on a Substack about it, and he was like, back in the day, you imagine like the origins of story were people around a campfire telling like a ghost story or whatever. And now we're at a point where we're at a campfire telling about a story at a campfire, and people are mad because we're talking about where people are sitting at the campfire. And it's like, what are we even doing now? Like it's so separate from any intrinsic value or meaning. That it's like, again, we're talking about, this is a narrative about how one big company bought another big company and how they're breaking up their assets. That's what this movie is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and it could have, the movie could have also like laid the blame square on the audience, been like, we wanted to keep the whole like team, but the audience wants like new versions of everybody, but they prefer Deadpool. So, you get to stay and everybody else has to go, and it's not our fault, but we got to go with the tide, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That could have been something, because the whole movie is also like trying to make you feel bad for wanting the Fox universe to end, but also that's not what the movie's about until it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm on board for that.
Yeah, I think you and I are a team. Yeah, man, they did their time. They had Logan. They had their ending. They had Days of Future Past. They had Logan. They had 2 solid endings. It's not our fault they went past those endings.
Right? Yeah. I'm sorry you got Simon Kinberg involved. Like, I'm sorry that you have all these like really, really terrible people making these really, really bad versions of your movies at the same time that you're making these much more palatable superhero movies on the other side of the fence. Like, I'm sorry.
Don't worry, Sal. Simon Kinberg's going over to Disney too. He's doing the new Star Wars trilogy.
I heard that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Hey, could you get Tom Rothman involved too? Like, can you get all the worst people?
Let's just do it. So this culminates, Wade being told he's going to MCU. This culminates in him doing a fourth wall break where he says, he grabs a mic off camera, says, fuck Fox, and then hits the camera. And then we cut to a reverse shot and there's no camera crew there. And it's like, okay, so me as an audience member, what am I supposed to understand just happened? If I'm Paradox, what am I supposed to understand just happened?
That's just for him. They didn't see that. Like that's for us.
Sure.
They didn't see that happen. That's how I interpret his fourth wall breakings when he directly talks to the audience, unless you want to make a joke where he's talking to no one and the characters are aware of it, but we don't see when we don't see it, it's for us. But that moment for me is also like a vexing where I'm like, this whole movie is making me is telling me that I suck for wanting the MCU over Fox.
Yeah.
And then you said, screw Fox, this sucks. Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah, what do we do?
You were just there.
Yeah. So, and then we get to this thing. So then here's the good news, bad news for Wade. Wade gets to go to the MCU. Bad news, his whole universe is going to get wiped out. Why? Well, because, Sal, we're getting meta. There's this thing called anchor beings. Which, again, long story short, is the most popular character. If they go, we're going to let your universe go. Because there's no real tangible... Like, even in bullshit fantasy land, what's the science behind this? This gets into, and this we talked about this in Across the Spider-Verse, which is a movie I like significantly more than this movie. But I hate anchor beings. I hate canon events. I hate that bullshit because here's what you're telling me. I'm over here. I've got my newborn son. I'm hanging out with him. He's starting to make sounds. He's smiling at me. He's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. Uh-oh, an energy wave's coming. All of reality, the entire universe, billions of stars are being wiped out. Oh my God, what could have caused this? Is this a world-ending villain? No. Sorry, Wolverine died. So now nobody gets to live anymore. Or, counterpoint to the Spider-Verse of it all, sorry, Peter Parker's uncle didn't die. So now all of reality gets wiped out. Fuck off. Fuck off. That's a stupid explanation. That's stupid.
Also, like, what happened to reality before they were born?
It's just try harder. Listen, guys, try harder.
Is lazy and terrible, and I hate it, and it's awful, and there's and it would have been way better if they made it up.
Yeah. And again, I think the easiest workaround to both of these things, both of them, is blame the Beyonder. Pick a guy. Pick one of your... pick Eternity. I don't give a fuck. Pick one of your cosmic guys and have him basically be a stand-in for the execs, the fans, whoever the fuck. And basically, no, he's bored. Once Wolverine's gone, he's bored. So he's wiping out reality. That at least, it's petty, it's stupid. It reminds me of Tenet, which is a movie I think is Chris Nolan's worst movie. It's not a movie I enjoy. The one part of it I like is we're told, and this is insane, because if you guys don't know, the premise of that movie is that there's a way to reverse entropy, which is basically you go back in time, which introduces a whole host of questions that the movie doesn't even engage with. But the crisis of the movie is we're told that some of the most powerful people in the future have made it so bad that they're going to reverse entropy to go back in time, which sounds stupid and insane. And so the main character's like, would that even work? And I think it's Robert Pattinson is the one saddled with his exposition. He's like, I don't know, but they think it will. That's all I need to know, because guess what? I live in a reality where the richest, most powerful people are doing the dumbest things imaginable because they think it's good, and we all pay the price for it. Yes. So I believe that. So just do that on a cosmic level, and I'll be like, yeah, some cosmic asshole doesn't like it if your universe doesn't have Wolverine, which, sorry, MCU, but doesn't like, well, your reality doesn't, he's bored that Logan's gone now, so he's just going to wipe out your reality. And I'm like, that's good enough. That's good enough. That's all I need.
Yeah, but I also would have been like okay with just bad guy's gonna bad guy. He said that so that because he's like you believe anything a British person tells you.
Yeah.
And so now like I needed you to go like like I told you that because I needed you to just accept it wholesale and come to the MCU.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect you to steal a data pad and then go find a Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like. That would have been, and that's kind of fun, because then it's like Wolverine's like, I'm not even supposed to friggin' be here. You mean like I'm not even important? You're not even important.
Yeah,
like you're not even special. You're not an anchor being. Like that's a stupid thing they made up. Now we still have time. They could just say that it's made up. Mm-hmm. Like they could always say that it's made up. Anchor beings and canon events. It's all made up. It's what we thought, but it's not. Because actually, that's stupid.
Yeah, listen, that was something Kang told us because he was telling us he was an anchor being.
Yes.
And this dipshit and Paradox believed that bullshit. That's not true. That's not true.
Right. That's all we need. Yes. It's like, that's Kang crap.
Yeah. So this leads to what I would argue. Would I argue this? I think I would argue this. The best sequence in the movie, at least my favorite sequence in the movie, which is Deadpool steals one of the data pads and goes to find a Wolverine. And this is just an excuse to put Hugh Jackman and Henry Cavill in as many Wolverine variants as we can imagine. We get short Wolverine. Is it offensive? Who knows? Who's to say? Because we get a short actor.
He's not a short person. He just is short.
Yeah.
The thing is, why make him Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, just cast a different actor. They
had stand-in look just like Wolverine. Just
yeah,
do that.
Yeah, do that. We get Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, which is cool.
I was like,
yeah, great.
Yeah, we got that Mark Silvestri cover of like the crucified Wolverine.
We got the crucified, and dude, this like because maybe I have so much goodwill for the sequence. One of my favorite jokes is when he comes out, he sees crucified Wolverine on the Mountain of Skulls, and he's like, "Oof, it's not you. We're just gonna go in a different direction."
Yeah,
he just like yeets right back out of the universe.
Yeah,
it's good.
I would too. Like, what even is this supposed to be?
What's happening? You know what? Never mind. We get
Wolverine.
Listen, and I feel like you and I may have talked about this. Traditionally, maybe it's because I'm a 90s kids, 90s cartoon, I'm traditionally a bigger fan of blue, yellow Wolverine.
Me too.
That said, we get blue, yellow Wolverine costume, and it's great that he does the costume. We also, in this montage, we get brown and tan suit, and the second I saw that brown and tan suit, I'm like, well, that's it. That's the money.
Great. Yeah, it was unbelievable. I was like, oh, it looks great. Oh, you could have done it any time.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it looks really good. And then we get the Hulk tease, which is... Secret Wars, give me a fucking Wolverine Hulk fight, please. Give it to me. Give me.
I was like, oh my God. We even got the cover. We got the McFarlane cover homage, which I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's Ruffalo Wolverine. It's a Ruffalo Hulk. So like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Should have been Eric Bana.
That would have been funny. And we get the only recast. We get Cavalrine. We get Henry Cavill's Wolverine. And I'm like, I don't hate it. I don't hate
No, I don't hate it either. He is huge.
He is because, Jackman is tall and lanky. Henry Cavill's mad. I will say, though, height-wise, not the same as the traditional Wolverine. But, like, body proportions, it's like that. Comic Wolverine is traditionally that yoked. He is pretty yoked.
Yeah.
Case in point, if you're watching the video, look at behind Sal. Look at the guns on that guy. Look at him. Those are Cavill guns.
His legs.
The legs.
Unbelievable. This dude is a brick shit house.
Yeah,
just like Cavill.
Yeah, Wolverine's not skipping leg day. That Wolverine's not skipping leg day. No, he ain't.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so finally we get to the Wolverine we're going to be stuck with for the rest of this movie. And he's very drunk and sad, which is a totally new and different take on the character. We've never seen drunk, sad Wolverine before.
I can't wait to see what this Wolverine has to offer.
Yeah. And they have a brief altercation, which leads... I think Wolverine knocks himself out. He drinks himself unconscious. And then
I was really sad, man. There was this in the trailer. He has like he pops the claws a little bit, and he makes a whiskey dick joke.
yes.
And I was like, oh, that's fun because maybe we're gonna finally like bridge a little bit of like Old Man Logan. Like,
Yeah. Oh, and that's part of our montage. We do get old,
we get real Old Man Logan.
Real Old Man Logan. Yeah.
No Hulk baby.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity. But he's inside.
Yeah.
But like, I thought we were gonna go where it's like, because he's the worst Wolverine. He's sad. Oh, he killed all the X-Men. Maybe he doesn't pop the claws. Maybe he only pops them a little bit, like to scare him a little bit. I was like, maybe he won't pop them. And then I was bridging. I was Prometheus trailering it. Yeah. Where I was like, oh, this is how we get the derelict ship from Alien. This.
Yeah.
With this, he doesn't pop the claws
until
we get like that moment, because there's that moment in the trailer where like they come out of the pop, the things. I was like, oh, that'll be so cool. And I got to tell you, in the trailer, when those claws come out, that sound of like the metal sliding against the other metal, I was like, this looks and sounds amazing.
Dude, oh my God. Because here's what that makes me think of, and a feeling I would always chase in my movie, especially if you're doing this. And I think about this more because there's so much nostalgia-based movies now.
Yeah.
Nobody's done it better, I don't think, than Creed, where you go through, first off, Creed's a great movie, but you have to wait until the final fight, and right at the lowest moment the Rocky theme kicks in and your heart soars, and I'm like, fuck, you could. And the other classic example I think of is Jaws, where you have to wait the whole movie to get the shark. If you make the audience wait for those claws, baby, we're gonna make you wait for it. That would have been so cool.
I agree, and would have been pretty cool, but no, it's just a funny dick joke.
Yeah. So Paradox said this isn't what Paradox was thinking. This is not what he had in mind. So he sends both Wade and Logan to the Void, which is a great opportunity for this movie to save some money and just put them in generic desert locations. And so they go to the Void. This leads to our first Deadpool and Wolverine fight, which Wade opens with by saying, like, I think the line I have it written here: "Get your special sock out, nerds. It's about to get good." And good being relative in a movie directed by the Night of the Museum guy.
Exactly. Like it's a fun fight. It's fun. I had fun watching it, and I like them fighting. There's a better fight later between the two of them.
Oh, dude, yeah, much better. Yeah, I totally agree. Especially because it's more character. And I guess I can say this here, but we'll get into it more later. Here's, I think, the biggest flaw of this movie that is beyond DJ's bugaboos and the stuff that he prefers and doesn't prefer, which is most of it, right? It's just my preferences as a moviegoer and a writer and stuff like that. Here's the one that I think is a genuine flaw. The title of the movie is Deadpool and Wolverine. Also, the best parts of the movie are when we really get Deadpool and Wolverine, like not just fights like this, but like really interacting, because Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are friends in real life. Yeah. Those scenes happen approximately twice in this 2-hour plus movie. That is like, they get so lost in all the meta bullshit. It's like, you've missed your movie. Your movie is these two guys.
Yep.
Because at the end, spoilers, they're all like, we're best friends now. I'm like, fucking why? What happened that you guys you interacted twice, basically, the end.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, they went on an adventure together because they also, like, you could feel like these weird influences. Like Ryan Reynolds wanted to make a kind of like a fun buddy cop road movie.
Yeah, which is not the worst instinct here.
No, it's not in this.
Yeah, no, it is not.
Like, there are elements that remind you of one, but only for a second. And that's not enough to make this like, oh, Marvel made a secret road movie. No, you didn't.
No.
No. They go to one location. They go to two locations, and they yell at each other.
Yeah. So yeah, we get this fight. It's fine. It's fine. It's just like, for example, I'm watching I started watching Shadow Strays, which is from the same director of The Night Comes for Us, and that is a movie with a fraction of the budget, and the fights are so much cooler. They're so much more inventive and cooler. Anyway,
well, they didn't have time. And what's frustrating is, like, let's say you saw the writer's strike on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
You go, you know what? Let's get all of our dialogue scenes in now.
Yeah,
and let's just, when the writer's strike happens, we will give the whole movie to the fight coordinators.
Yeah.
And just let them shoot fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like You know what I mean? Like, and just get creative. Like, because we'll have extra time because we can't shoot scenes. Like, we can't shoot coverage. Like, it's only going to be fight sequences. So it's like, get the stunt guy in here. You know, there's 4 action set pieces that are just literally 2 guys punching each other.
Yeah.
Make it awesome looking. Come up with a shot list. Get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe because that Hickman comic, Wolverine Revenge is on my mind. Like, I'm trying to think of like, we're about ready to get a joke where we build up to a Sabretooth fight, but we just had a Wolverine Deadpool fight. So this is a build up to a joke. And pacing wise, I understand it, but as somebody that really wants a dope Wolverine Sabretooth fight, I was disappointed. And it makes me think
everybody was disappointed.
If in your little pitch here where it's like, okay, writer strike's going on, all we have is fight scenes. All we can shoot right now is the fight scenes.
Yeah.
What if you had like Deadpool's there, Sabretooth's there, Omega Red's there, like we're really pulling like Cyber's there, like all these people, and we just make it a big free-for-all Wolverine versus all of these guys. That would have been cool.
Yeah, do that. Right? That's what you can do stunt casting too.
Yeah.
Like,
you
get Dolph Lundgren to play Omega Red.
Yeah. Okay. So, they fight. This fight is ended by a voice on the horizon. Oh my God. Is that Chris Evans? This gag's not the worst. No,
everybody loved this moment, and it was worth it. It's a good moment.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, is it, Deadpool's reacting as if it's Cap. He does the hero landing. Then we get a very blatant Mad Max homage. And I think my note would be Fury Road specifically homage. My note would be like, don't quote movies that are better than yours. Don't do that. Because once this like road show rides in, I'm like, wow, that looks bad. Because in my mind, I'm comparing it to Fury Road.
Yeah, they want you to think of Fury Road. And I guess it's just like they're like, you don't know the difference. And it's like, all right, I do, but all right.
I do. So anyway, I did have somebody tell me, no, I thought it looked just as good as Fury Road. And I'm like, you are a crazy person. That's insane to me.
It did not.
That is insane to me, but hey, whatever. Okay. Yeah. So what we find out is that this mystery person is not Captain America, but it is Chris Evans reprising his role, which we've been chasing this for years. He's reprising his role as Johnny Storm. And for some reason, even though we learn he's been part of this resistance for years, one presumes, and he knows Pyro's on the team, he decides to shoot his flames right at Pyro, who sucks them back up.
Yep. We have a scene, like, once he shows up, all I can think of, maybe it's just my failings, but like all I can think of is how are they going to kill him for laughs?
Yeah, exactly.
And the second he fights, I'm like, really? He's going to die right here? And then he falls and clearly dies, but he doesn't.
No.
And
thankfully,
totally fine,
they do save it for a better joke death than this.
Yes, but they also CG his death. Like he like hits his head like 5 times. I'm like, he's dead.
Yeah.
And then he's just totally not.
No. We're going to be introduced to another character that I guess we're supposed to assume also has a healing factor, even though her counterpoint does not. But whatever. No. We're there. So on the ride over, Chris Evans is saddled with some exposition because and Deadpool makes a joke about it, but I don't know if lampshading it makes it better. There's so much exposition in this movie. He specifically says this is a lot of exposition for a threequel. And it's like, man.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So your third Deadpool movie, not only do you need to see the first 2 Deadpool movies, but most MCU movies, most Fox movies, Loki, the TV shows, because he literally has to like. Chris Evans tells him about Alioth. Yeah, and Ryan Reynolds has to look at the camera and be like, "Oh, you mean from Loki season 1 episode 5?" And I'm like, "Fuck off, get the fuck out of here with that shit." I don't want to have to. I do know because it's my job to cover these things, but I don't want to have to know that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this takes them to Giant Man's corpse, which is a good visual gag. It is. It's just a funny Paul Rudd joke. That's good. And this leads us to one of my other favorite parts of the movie, which is Emma Corrin as Cassandra Nova, who's killing it. She's doing a good job.
I need them to be in like a movie with James McAvoy as Charles.
Yes.
Like, I need. They are incredible.
So it gets the joke, gets the bit. is able to thread that needle of like, no, I'm a genuine, real threat, but also I'm such a threat that I kind of don't take any of this seriously. So I get to be in on the joke a little bit.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
They're great.
Just crushing it.
Yeah. So good. This is, no, I'll save this for when we get into Wolverine's tragic backstory, but I think the movie could have utilized Cassandra more. And maybe that's just me because, again, I like them a lot. Really good job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of extras in past X-Men costumes, but not the actors, which was one of those like, maybe just have them be generic bad guys then.
Yeah, I can't believe that you did that. But also, I gotta get it because, like, you know what? That's like, yes, the whole like the Void is a cameo factory. You should just have all the characters, like all the characters that you can't use. But also, like, is it insulting and sad that like you didn't just get the lady who played Psylocke and like all this other stuff? Like,
get
I don't know,
Vinnie
it's
Jones
weird.
back as Juggernaut. Like,
Well, Vinnie Jones like hated being Juggernaut when he was Juggernaut.
Yeah.
There's no way he's coming back to play a joke version of Juggernaut. Like, as far as he's concerned, he did play a joke version of Juggernaut.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
he hated that movie.
Well, at least do the
He's
CG.
not coming back.
At least do the CG Juggernaut from
the Deadpool
2.
movie.
Yeah.
Isn't Ryan Reynolds that Juggernaut? Like,
Yes.
come on.
Yeah.
Weird.
We get a weird. Okay, so we find out Cassandra Nova is the lost, just like in the comics, is the long lost, short version of it, long lost sister of Professor X. She's real pissy about it. Also, like her brother, way OP, like crazy OP. And there's a weird exchange between Wade and. Okay, so the actor is them. The character, I believe, is she. So actor between her and Wade, where Wade is like, all I want to do is go home. And then Cassandra says something like, we don't always get what we want. She puts her fingers. It's a good visual. It's a
great. It's actually from the comics too, like how she does that. And it's like so cool.
Yeah, puts the fingers through their head. And then she's like, we don't always get what we want. What do you want, Wade? And he's like, he literally just said, he just told you. Did we not? Did you guys not do another pass on the script?
Well, this is one of those writer strike scenes. We couldn't fix it.
Yeah, we couldn't fix it in post. We get a really, really boring domestic flashback between Wade and Vanessa where they break. Like this is like from a bad episode of This Is Us, where it's like, oh, I'm sad, and you don't like it that I'm sad. Maybe you should just break up with me.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
Blah.
Just what? Like after everything they've been through. I get it on some level, the idea of like, you know, I'm not enough. Like, you know, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life like convincing you that you are worth it.
Yeah.
But that's a little deep for this kind of movie.
Yeah.
And you know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not convinced that like the breakup with Vanessa wasn't entirely encouraged by the fact they were like, we can't have these two sexy people be sexy.
Yeah.
Each other.
We can't. These two on camera. That's just too much sexiness for this movie.
Yeah.
We just can't.
And
have
it
it
is
happen.
like why? Like get copycat in these movies, people. Come on,
for real. So Wolverine stabs Cassandra, who I guess we're supposed to understand has a healing factor because once she like yeets Wolverine off of her, she's fine. This will also come back. She's shot later, and I guess her psychic abilities also mean she can heal. Which I guess, like, if Professor X can freeze people, I guess that's not.
Does that mean that Chuck can do that too?
That would have to be, right? That would have to be what that means.
Yeah. Weird.
So then Alioth, whatever, who cares? The
Elia.
big cloud, Elia, thank you,
made
Sal.
up name.
Yeah, shows up and starts wiping everybody out. But Wade and Logan escape. And that's what we're going to end part 1 of our Deadpool and Wolverine discussion. This will be like how we did in Spider-Versity, where we're going to split it into 2 parts. Sal, before we go, remind the kids at home where they can find you.
You can find me on youtube.com/comicpop and youtube.com/comicpopreturns. Check out me and my friends talking about comic books all the time.
Please do that.
Please.
And you can find me at DJ Talks Trash. If you haven't, you're listening to this, you're on Patreon. Although we might drop this episode, the holidays are coming up, so I probably drop this episode for free. If you want part 2 of our discussion, you can do that over at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. Also, if you're watching this on OSA, please go over to my personal channel, DJ Talks Trash. Sal and I do a show over there called Krypton Academy that is the spiritual successor of this in Spider-Versity, but we're talking about Superman movies. As of this recording, we'll be in or around doing Superman 3, which I'd never seen before in its entirety. So be sure to check that out, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.